we allowed, yeah.
I mean, it's like you're all play cousins, so it works out. It's still family. Thanks for letting me open the door. People are sending me so much wine now because they're like, oh my God, you're working hard. Can we send you wine? I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, it's like you're all play cousins. Yes. It's still family. Thanks for letting me open the door. People are sending me so much. Do we have echo?
Yeah. No, that was me trying to set up the YouTube. My bad. We're good.
Oh yeah, is it okay?
Yes, we're good.
Good. God, every time I hear him, I was like, what world did I just enter? And I'm like, wait, did I not say what I said? All right. Well, I'm excited because we are talking about the history of Juneteenth, but really connecting back to joy, reclaiming that joy. So this is me with the power pose because my hands on my hip. Change Today is my company. I've been working in diversity for 5 years, but many people figured that out 20 some odd days ago. So I've been in demand, figuring out how to help a lot of companies be anti-racist organizations. We do that through strategy, advising, executive coaching. Obviously, I'm a speaker. I'm here talking to you today. But one of my favorite things to do is oh shitness and be the original of diversity and go in there and handle it and fix it. So when people have been harmed, Black people, women, we come in and we do crisis recovery. And right now there's a lot of businesses that are in crisis recovery. So it's keeping us busy. We work with some of these businesses. Want to highlight that the wing is awful and that's why it's there. So fun fact, what not to do, look at the wing. Juneteenth is the longest running Black holiday. It's America's second Independence Day. It's an Emancipation Day. It's Juneteenth Independence Day, it's Black Independence Day, and also called Jubilee Day, and that was in 1866. A little bit on the further into the history of Juneteenth. On June 19, 1865, Major General Gordon Granger announced the end of the Civil War and the end of slavery upon his arrival to Galveston, Texas. So him and his crew rolled up to Texas and was like, BT dubs. At that time, 250,000 people were still enslaved. But fun fact, that was 2.5 years after Lincoln, you know who he is, issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Texas was the last Confederate state to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation, and that was January 1st, 1863. And they did that to keep the enslaved captive. One of the reasons, many reasons Black people don't like the Confederate flag because Texas was the last Confederate state. There's so many other reasons why we don't like the Confederate flag. You guys are still getting these facts because the Emancipation Proclamation did not apply to slaves in Union-held territory. They were freed on December 18th, 1865 after the 13th Amendment, which is December 6th, 1865. So many fun facts. Black Texans who started celebrating. So Jubilee Day was 1866, happening right after, becoming an annual celebration. As they migrated, they took this Jubilee Day and Juneteenth, which is June 19th, put together in one word. And it started to move all over the country in Black communities. With the Emancipation Proclamation and Juneteenth, it's definitely the end of slavery because everyone who was enslaved was free, but it was the start of Jim Crow and mass incarceration. As I mentioned earlier, the 13th Amendment freed slaves, abolished slavery and involuntary servitude. So with the end of slavery and involuntary servitude, then it turned into this loophole that you may know about because it excluded punishment for a crime. So you may know that as this fantastic documentary. If you have not watched it yet, I highly recommend you watch it, but it goes into the 13th Amendment. So what I just shared from, the Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th Amendment, Jim Crow, and mass incarceration, where we are #right now, is a strong period of mass incarceration. Juneteenth is a symbolic date representing our freedom. It's a day of celebrations. And so here there's a picture of the women I'm in Oakland, California, so we have an annual Black Joy Parade. It's great. moment. It doesn't happen around Juneteenth, but it happens in February. And it's a wonderful day of celebration of Black people. This other picture that you see here with the tattoo that says "My Black is Beautiful," which is incredibly powerful, is by my dear friend, Ashley Reddy, who took this shot. So when we're celebrating with our families, our play cousins, as we were saying earlier. We're celebrating through cookouts and parades and festivals and gatherings. Some people are celebrating with their church or their congregation. Some people are going to talks, but it's like, 4th of July. So it's a way that we're coming together to celebrate a form of independence. Again, Juneteenth is about Black independence. Juneteenth is a holiday-ish, and that's because Texas made it a state holiday like 114 years, I think, after. I'm not good at math. Maybe that's right. Don't quote me on that. And made it a state holiday, and then others followed. So in the 80s, it started the trend of the other states either making it a holiday or observance. I don't know what's up with Hawaii, North Dakota, or South Dakota, but they are lagging. They need to catch up. And then yesterday, New York made it a state holiday, which is pretty cool. So Cuomo did something good. As far as Juneteenth advocacy, it's important to continue to push for legislation to make it a state, local holiday. So governments need to continue to do that, like New York and like some states that actually do make it more of a holiday than an observance. Companies need to make it a holiday. So right now, today, because everyone learned about Juneteenth Thursday of last week, so there's been a lot that's been happening in the news. You have a lot of big brands who have made it a holiday, like Nike, Twitter, Spotify, Lyft, Target. No TikToking today. Adobe, Lyft, Glossier, MasterCard, and the NFL. I don't like the NFL for a multitude of reasons, and every time they try to do something for Black people, I'm like, so you don't want to apologize to Colin Kaepernick, or I don't know, maybe let him play, but that's another story. We're not going to talk about that. You can also visit hellajuneteenth.com. It's put together by a dope ass group of creatives, and there's more history about Juneteenth, how you can get activated and involved. Buying Black is important today. Support Black businesses today, but also forever. So just be conscious of how you're buying and when you can buy. It doesn't mean you can't buy stuff for like big boxes or white businesses, but it's just important to use the Black dollar or support the Black dollar by supporting Black businesses. And remembering that Juneteenth is a moment for activation. This is time for us to be activated. So yes, we celebrate, but now with everything that's been happening since the start of this new moment that has become a movement, we have to remember to be proactive in our Blackness. We have to remember, if we are not Black, so non-Black people, to also be proactive in supporting Blackness, humanity, equality for Black people in America. Even though we're celebrating this day, we are still dealing with the confinements that come from mass incarceration, systemic and institutional racism, white privilege, and my favorite, America and white people upholding values of white supremacy. So remember to be activated and aware, be on a path of allyship, or continue to be vocal. Or if you are tired, Black people, send them my way. I will take care of them for you. So we're gonna go into joy. Does that sound good?
Before we go into joy, we had a couple of questions, and I had some questions now too.
Oh, okay, cool. Go ahead, take it away.
One of the questions was, and I'm curious too from the panel as well, is how, now that we're sort of moving into this of people celebrating Juneteenth, what do you feel like is the appropriate way for people to celebrate it?
Oh, yeah.
Both who are Black and who are not Black.
I think Party City and Target needs to have a section in the store that says Juneteenth, and then everyone will buy it. But I think it's really important to, as I shared earlier, it's like the second Independence Day for America, to have that same type of energy. We want that 4th of July energy, for Juneteenth. How can we get to the point where there are, it becomes a federal holiday, because it's not a federal holiday. It's been recognized by the Senate, but it's not a federal holiday. So how do we get it to that level? How do we get it? So it's great that these big companies are doing it, and there's going to be pressure for other companies to follow suit. But how does it become a federal holiday for the, the bank? It's the same magnitude, the banks and, the different systems. For people, for Black people, we're pretty good at knowing how to celebrate this day. But it's, as the earlier conversation was happening, remembering that you can celebrate Juneteenth with anyone Black. We do think of it as a family way or going to an event. So just making time for it. I think it's also really important for Black people to connect to joy today, which we'll talk about in a second. For non-Black people, doing some work, being uncomfortable, and understanding the history around Juneteenth. Emancipation Proclamation, 13th Amendment. There's so many things that you could do a deep dive to know the historical context of why Black people celebrate this day. And then having an understanding around the 2.5-year delay. So there's like stuff out there that says like it's because of wanting to have another harvest, wanting to profit. But a 2.5-year delay means not wanting to let go of power and not wanting to let go of control. Right. So I think in all of those things, depending on how you identify, you can find ways to connect to the day. And then social media is also another great tool, regardless of how you identify, to acknowledge and celebrate Juneteenth. If you aren't doing an outward post like me, like right now it says Happy Juneteenth. There's some more things that people can do on that current post right now, or a story, just doing something to celebrate Black people, because now more than ever, and I hate saying that, but now more than ever,
it's true. It's true.
You need it, right?
It's true. I think we have to keep saying that it's a moment that's turned into a movement. So here's where we are. Sorry, I'm going to just close this window.
No, it's all right. Yeah, it's exactly right. This is where we are. Yeah.
But also for me, in France, they take the whole month of August off as a holiday. I feel like Juneteenth could get into like a week.
I mean, I feel Juneteenth can be all of June, because we know February is short. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about Hella Juneteenth. They had stuff of what you can do all week. And then they also have what you can do moving forward, right? And Juneteenth is a lifestyle. It's a vibe. You know what I mean? It's a movement. It's all the things that are like really important, but the now more than ever thing is incredibly important, because a lot of this renewed interest into Juneteenth is a result of the lynching of George Floyd, right? And so because that, and then him calling out his mother, so we have a lot of people who were moved by that moment, and there's this awareness, there's this consciousness that's happening. And why not start with Juneteenth or add it to the work of, what's going on?
I think that's a combination of things. I think it's all the things, COVID, like all the combination of things, which is why this is such an important time, an important like movement, because that's how you keep it moving, is you start with the movement and then you got to keep moving. I hear about yoga.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just, it is, that's why I'm saying it's an activation. Juneteenth is a reminder of an activation. So, it's like next year at this time, when everyone's like, ooh, it's time for Juneteenth, I'm excited. That should be a reminder of what they've done from this Juneteenth on. Were they different?
That's great.
Were they the same? Were they more proactive? And some of us can be the same, because I've been doing this work again for 5 years. I'm gonna do the same shit. I'm just gonna get paid more, because people figured it out.
You gotta golf clap on that.
No, yeah.
Yeah, where's Lindsay with the pium pium pium?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jamaican airborne cue.
So, but honestly, it's a marker of that. And then it's a reminder of being activated and doing it again. So people are always asking, moving forward. So people are asking me like, hopefully you're taking care of yourself, and, you're sleeping and you're eating, and all these things are very important. Very important. But what I want people to understand is that I'm a small business owner, and we're in a pandemic still. So with all this interest for companies to become anti-racist and learn about Juneteenth and the activities that we want to happen today, and celebrate and continue with every Juneteenth, I'm in a position to get white privilege with my business. So I have zero business debt in 2021. I'm in a position to get to a point where I can have generational wealth, right? And so that's what I'm planning on doing, being me, to get into a different position. It's really important with the activation of Juneteenth to understand privilege, regardless of your background, to understand the privilege. I have privilege to hopefully make money with this work that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same for everyone. What is your privilege? How does it show up for you at work? And how does it show up for you at home? And how does it start and have a reminder of Juneteenth? Are there other questions?
I love that.
Yes, there was one question that
Run me my coins. That's right.
Run her coin.
Yes.
And how can we help to make Juneteenth a federal holiday?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are some existing petitions that are out right now. So you can just Google Juneteenth petition to make it work. Fun fact, lynching is not a federal crime.
Right.
And it was discussed about 2 weeks ago, and it didn't pass. It didn't pass. It passed the House, but it didn't pass the Senate. So stuff like this is going to be hard to do, right? So the petition is important to happen, and also maybe lynching being a federal crime. I would just hope that would happen. So there's a lot of work to do, but even in that activism of making Juneteenth a federal holiday, there are things that are in support equally as powerful as well.
Can you just really quickly explain what lynching is, as opposed to from one crime to another?
Yeah. So lynching is a form of murder, but lynching is done. It is done to create harm and instill fear in Black communities, and so lynching is done in public places. And so that's why I say George Floyd was a lynching, because all 8 minutes and 46 seconds happened in front of people. People were there. And if you want to say, the onlookers were there, but also the, 3 other officers, they knew what they were doing in that situation. We've had a couple of lynchings last weekend that have happened where we've had Black men hung from a tree next to a business. And what that means is someone wants that person to be seen. Death by suicide is real, but death by suicide, particularly when it comes to lynching, tends to happen on your property, in your home, outside of your home sometimes, but usually inside the home. So we know these are forms of hate crimes. We know these are forms of hate crimes, lynching in particular, because the current president, who I call President Twitter, said a few weeks ago, shoot them, which was a call to action for those who do not believe Black people's lives should be valued in America, to harm, maim, hurt, kill, lynch Black people. So hopefully that answers that question.
It really does. And I appreciate you giving that in depth of an answer, because I think that it's really, I believe in words being so important, like the definition of them, because it leads you to it. Because I think people who don't know what lynching truly is would think that you calling George Floyd a lynching not the right term, but it is the right term.
Trying to sensationalize his death, but
exactly
that's the definition of what happened to him.
Right. And nomenclature is really important. Using the right words is really important here, because people will say, you've seen it in some of their statements, that George Floyd was killed. No, he wasn't. He was murdered or lynched. That's it, because it was a crime. You know what you kill? A spider. And even then I'm like, I'll pick up the spider and put it out the window. So you kill a spider, you don't murder the spider. You're not gonna, it's not a crime against humanity to murder a spider. Personal preference, sure. So that's why it's important to say that George Floyd was murdered or lynched, or modern day lynching. The term modern day lynching takes, the image of lynching is usually, a noose and a tree or some type of thing, but lynching has always happened in different ways. And George Floyd is an example of that. Black people were harmed and maimed and burned alive. So there's lots of different forms of lynching, which is also why it needs to be a federal crime, because there's harsher penalties for the people who are doing it right now today.
Correct. Thank you. I think that you just shook a lot of people's thinking thoughts as we do. The definition of joy is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. I find that I really love the idea of people really truly finding their own happiness. I read a book called Stumbling on Happiness, and there was a case study in there of two Siamese twins that were connected at the head, and they had this great life. They had jobs, they did all these things, but people were like, you'd be happier if you were not connected. And they're like, we've only known being connected. So how do we know that we would be happier? Like, we're happy now. So it's that idea of what makes one person happy might not make the other person happy.
Yeah.
So focus on your happiness.
Right.
And your joy.
Yeah.
But how do I do that with all this going on around me?
I may have some tips.
I think you do.
A friendly reminder, Siamese twin is actually an offensive term. The term is conjoined twins.
I apologize.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, it's because of the first public set of twins, and there's a whole bunch of history in that. I can also say that as a twin myself.
Got it.
Okay, so joy. Finding joy is not new to us. We know self-care. We know how to do that. You know how we know how to do self-care? Because there's hashtag self-care Sunday, there's bath bombs, there's lavender, everything you want. It's there. But how do we do that amongst injustice? That's the part that is a bit of a challenge at times. So you are all familiar with the term balance, and balance is synonymous with work-life balance. We're going to be an active person here advocating for this. We're going to work here. And I don't know if you know, but we're still in a pandemic. We are still in a pandemic. So some of us are sheltering in place. Some of us are quarantining. Today is day 101 of shelter in place for me. I decided I'm going to buy myself jewelry for my 100-day anniversary. Yesterday, I figured that out. So that's what we think of balance. But balance or work-life balance really is this: juggling, spinning, trying to make things work. So what I have learned over the past couple of years is spending more time in harmony. And so when I think about harmony, when I talk about harmony, I'm thinking about a piano, I'm thinking about music, I'm thinking about a melody, I'm thinking about anything Beyonce wants me to listen to. And I feel good and great, and I am dancing and I'm vibing. So harmony is just going with the flow of things to the priorities of what you have. If what is literally bringing you joy is where you should be spending your time. So I don't say balance, I say harmony. So what's the difference between harmony and balance? Harmony is a pleasing arrangement of parts, and balance is just the arrangements of parts. I'm going to work out at this time 4 times a week, or I'm going to do this, opposed to the pleasing arrangements of parts. Like, I am going to work out this week. And if it's 2 times or if it's 4 times, it's not a big deal. It's just doing it in a way that works for whatever is coming. Balance is also doing what feels right and feels good. When you think about harmony, there's a higher rate of failure. So again, I'm going to work out 4 times this week, but because of social injustices and being emotionally exhausted, or taking more time to do a deep dive into how I can support the Black community, I chose to do that instead of getting on my Peloton bike, maybe, I don't know, whatever that thing may be, taking a walk, I don't know. Harmony allows you to have boundaries, whereas with balance, they can get a little bit murky because there's that, again, that feeling of failure. The boundaries that you have with harmony, again, are connected back to what brings you joy. Harmony allows for you to understand your power and privilege of things. Do I have the power or the privilege to not work out today? Do I have the power and privilege or time, space, or energy to get into this thing or do this additional work? Harmony allows for change. Change is constant. Change is in the name of my business. We see change happening on a very, very regular basis. Sometimes it feels like hourly when it comes to COVID-19 or what's happening with the injustices in the Black community. And harmony accounts for hashtag life, hashtag current situation, hashtag today. Harmony means you have to listen to your mind, body, spirit, and soul. And it's important to do that. You will hear me say often that I will do this work as long as my mind, body, spirit, and soul allow me to do it. If one of those things are not fulfilled with the work of educating people, educating companies, strategy advising, I will check out, because by then I will have received my reparations and will be friends with Beyonce, and I'll be fine. I'll be good. It'll work out. So when you think about harmony and getting to harmony, you have to know how to check in with yourself. So that means celebrating the little wins. How are you celebrating yourself? There's so many things to celebrate. As Americans, as humans in general, we feel like we have to only celebrate the big wins. It's a birthday, it's a promotion. I had a very successful Juneteenth celebration, ladies. It's a big win. You know, but celebrating the little wins is what's really important, because we do more little things that are significant and powerful that we can celebrate on the regular to make, we still celebrate the big things, but that's really what we need to celebrate. That's affirming our joy. That's affirming our purpose. That's affirming our passion when we're celebrating the little wins. Reevaluate what you're putting your time and energy to. This could right now mean the amount of time you're putting into activism, the news, conversations you're having with your white friends, you know, and also non-Black people or white people conversations you're having with your family and friends around all lives matter, injustices, defund, you know, what's Juneteenth? Just having some boundaries around what you're putting your time and energy into. You're gonna wanna listen to your body. It's so important to listen to your body. If your stomach makes a sound that says it's hungry, it's probably a good idea to eat. And I'm not saying that to you, I'm saying that to myself. Because sometimes I don't have time to eat. If your neck hurts, or you feel that your tongue is at the top of your mouth all the time and your shoulders are up and you're tight, like listen to your body. And, you know, I'm not gonna lie to you, breathing is hard for me, because when I think about deep breathing and like breathing out, I think about George Floyd and how he wasn't able to breathe. So that's a struggle for me. So I just like, but it's fine. Oxygen's in there, but do what resonates with you. You're going to have feelings of frustration and pivot. Pivot happened so much when it was just unprecedented times, when it was just COVID, but now we're in precedented times squared. So with that, that means you're constantly moving to things. So just don't get upset when you have to make a change one way or another. Just go with the flow. Minimize that frustration. Have an accountability partner. So an accountability partner is someone who's going to hold you accountable to celebrating the little wins or how you're finding your joy. Ask yourself if you're saying no. If you aren't saying no, you don't have strong boundaries. You just don't. Someone was talking to me about stuff that's going on with their family and this and that. And I was like, yeah, you just need to have boundaries. I do have boundaries, but, and I said, If you said but, that means you don't have boundaries. So you're not saying no to some of the things that are happening with your family. So say no. Think about other ways to check in that resonate with you that you've already been doing right now because of all the social injustices or COVID, or what you've been doing in general, and communicate those to your accountability partners, your friends, to hold you accountable. This is what my harmony looks like. I am a disabled person. I have a heart condition. I have to go to the emergency room for the rest of my life. My body thinks it's having a heart attack every day. I live in chronic pain. I'm having a spasm right now. So my heart spasms, the same way a spasm would happen for you in your calf happens literally in my heart. So I have to take heart meds and nitroglycerin, and I'm at a higher risk for a heart attack. And I can't have stress. And so that's how I learned about harmony, because I was a business owner, because it'll be 3 years this summer that I've had the heart conditions, that I've had to learn how to listen to my body. I've had to learn how to say no, have boundaries, and do what brings me joy. And that's what I do. So that is basically joy in a nutshell. So I'm going to stop sharing. If you need me, again, as long as my mind, body, and spirit allow, you can slide in my DMs You can send an email. I'm here to support your businesses with diversity strategies, advising, or coaching. I'm here to support you with questions that you may have. I'm happy to answer them for your joy or for dismantling white supremacy, which brings me joy. Dismantling white supremacy does bring me a lot of joy. So yeah, feel free to hit me up anytime. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Any questions?
We'll make sure that that information is available on our page.
Yes.
Yeah.
On Instagram. Yeah.
You can see at Change Cadet. You can find me there too.
Yep.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
So we did have one question that I wanted to highlight about any other documentaries that were available to understand Juneteenth. So you talked about 13th, which is on Netflix, but are there any others that come to mind?
Not particularly about Juneteenth, but what I do recommend is learning about Black Wall Street. Right. Yeah. And so you can Google Black Wall Street or Tulsa Massacre and Vox, VOX. And there's a great video that Vox has, I think it's like 8-9 minutes, that talks about a thriving Black neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was burned down to the ground by, spoiler alert, white people. I know. See, that always gets people.
I was shook.
It feels like people just discovered it because they watched Watchmen. It's been common knowledge.
Okay, so this is my second Juneteenth talk of the day, and the other one is for a tech company. And the literal question was like, I just learned about Juneteenth from Watchmen. So I thought it was fake. So what are the resources, and I'm like, okay, well, thank you, Watchmen, for that. But yeah, so in addition to burning down the entire town that had movie theaters, hotels, businesses, restaurants, all the things you would want in a community.
Hospitals, yes.
Hospitals, exactly. So they burned it down. And then they're like, you know what? We're going to kill 300 Black people. And then we're going to put legislation in place so you can never rebuild again.
Right.
Right. And so that's why, when people are like, why do you say white supremacy so much? Because I'm like, well, because it's part of the American fabric. Right. And because in America, everything was built with values of white supremacy, then that's why Juneteenth isn't a holiday. Right. It's why you beautiful women got together to create a celebration for us, right? That's why I'm wearing my symbolic chain today. Right. And in the middle, it says doc. You can't really see it for my name chain, because even with my privilege of being a doctor, one of 3% of the nation, to do stuff, because people believe anything a doctor says, by the way. There's a lot of power, a lot of privilege that comes with me. I happen to be Black.
True.
Right? I know. I literally have said in meetings, stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop. And then when you do that, that's how you're going to get to diversity. People are like, do I drop first? Or do I shut them down? Do I open up shop? For those of you who don't know, it is a Rough Rider anthem. Right? But even with that, I don't have whiteness. So the chains is the limitation of how much I can do. All of these people are interested in me right now, which is great. But there's an end date to that. Because when white people realize that they have to share the power, they will feel powerless. They will lose this control that they have. That's the part that is the hardest part of the work of what we're doing. And I can't do that myself. So that's why I need white people to help me out. I just told you I have a heart condition. If you're white, listen, I have a heart condition. I need you to become an ally. I need you, to become an accomplice to make our nation a better place.
I just wanted to add something really quick, just because that summation was really, really beautiful. And there's a lot of wine professionals on this talk. All of us are wine professionals. And I just wanted to address, I kind of mentioned this before on the post for the Quartermaster Sommeliers. And it's that white supremacy, when they see an open seat at the table, they don't call you in. They want seconds. And so the problem that this industry has, and that really needs to be addressed, is that there is space for people. There's space for all of us. And we're here. Julia compiled this gorgeous Rolodex, essentially, of all these Black wine professionals that have existed, that have been here, and it's time to hire them and listen to them and do the fucking work. I'm sorry for cursing, sorry, but you know, it's time, and it's time to dismantle the white supremacy that is the wine world. Like, we're done with it. We're done.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the wine listeners here, it's important that you know that I was invited to speak in Bordeaux about diversity in wine. And so to have a talk, and then to be part of a panel, to have a talk, and then to be part of a roundtable. And in the roundtable, to talk about diversity in wine and the future of wine, a white woman from Atlanta said the N-word.
Oh my gosh.
And the way she said it was, hey, Dr. Cadet, I would love for you to take a look at this data. And it was about chilled red wine and how it was like a word cloud, and how that could be marketed into the Black community. So in my talk, or presenting out of the group or whatever, it was a year ago, I shared that situation that the N-word was used. And if the N-word was used at a table where I was the only person of color, the table was literally white with a white tablecloth. I was in a wine cellar on a fucking chateau. And the person asked me, the Black person, to give them insight, data, resources, feedback to their data.
Wow. Work.
Said the N-word, not once, but 3 times.
Jesus.
Right? I announced that if you felt comfortable to do that right then at that moment, then I know 100% for sure that you in this room are using those words. And if it's not you, it's the people, you know, between harvest to the shop, to all the different, to corporate, that are using those words, discussing Black people who consume a lot of wine, right? And I think it's important. If you want to know, it's on my blog. It's called Dear Kathy. You can go down and go back to that moment in time and learn about it. The other thing that I want to be very clear about with the wine industry is that it likes to do a little dance with slavery. And the reason why I say that is if you look at the people who are in the fields, okay, the fields, they are Black and brown. And if they're white, they're immigrants. They're not getting everything that they need. They're not getting opportunities to grow and move up. That's not happening. It's very easy, and some wineries have done it, where you have individuals who, you know, have this family tradition where, you know, they're working and harvesting the grapes. But it's very easy for that person to go to school, get a college degree. It's very easy for that person to become a somm. It's very easy for that person to become an agriculturalist or viticulturist. It's easy for that to happen. It's very easy for that person to go into operations. It is a choice. And the wine industry is upholding values of white supremacy, not in lowercase, all in caps. And it's time for that to change.
Okay.
Ba, 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 ba. No,
Yes.
Okay. I do. Okay.
She said what she said.
And that's that on that.
Boom. Boom.
Just, I do want to say that.
That's how Rough Riders roll. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I want to make sure everybody knows that Julia Coney's wine professional list comes out and launches June 30th, that Roxy mentioned. I can't start talking about what you just said because we'll just be here all day. That's
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to be the
Thank
gift
you.
that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
You know? So it's recorded, and then come at me. We can talk about it. See, more wine's being delivered. Come at me.
More wine.
We know we do want to be respectful of your time, Dr. Cadet, because
Yes.
you do have other engagements and other talks, but we just want to thank you for supporting us in this inaugural launch. We want to thank you for sharing your knowledge and your expertise with us.
No problem.
Thank you for reflecting and saying the words and of all the experiences we've had, because I think I've had all of these different experiences, and for someone to make it, like you said, because I'm a doctor too, so when a doctor says it, it's taken seriously. So
Right.
So thank you for that, and thank you for holding space for us and giving us some instruction, particularly with harmony, because I've meditated on that concept a lot myself too, about what that might look like. So thank you for giving us some tools, some instructions, some marching orders, you know, things that we can do and not do. So we definitely just want to thank you. We want to thank all the attendees who have joined us for this session. And we will see you in a couple of hours.
Yes, I'll be back for the Beyonce of wine, AKA
Yes.
Julia Tony, AKA that's my friend.
My sister,
Mother.
Yes, so that'll be 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. Bring your bubbles. Make sure you, if you're sabering or if you're pouring something today, make sure to tag us, Juneteenth Saber Celebration, hashtag Juneteenth Saber Celebration, hashtag Our Glass is Full, OUR, Our Glass is Full, and we will see you in a couple hours. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cadet.
Yay,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Thanks for participating, y'all.
Bye.
Ciao.
All right, ending the session. 3, 2, and 1.